Hi everybody, my name is David Myrland. Welcome to No Confidence. It is February 13th, 2016. Nothing you'll hear me say is intended as legal advice. Anything that sounds like that to you, just consider something somebody else might do on a planet far, far away where the law matters. It doesn't matter here. I prove it on a daily basis. Same thing goes for my guest, Kurt Riggin. He's a paralegal and legal advocate, tribal counsel, living in Colorado, which is and this goes for every state. Every state is corrupt, but Colorado has knobs on it, even in comparison to Washington State, where I'm at. And Kurt is fully aware of what goes down in Washington, having lived here for many years himself. And Kurt is living in Colorado. On the last episode with Kurt, we heard about a trial he was facing in state court concerning a protection order, stay away from this person type of order, and he was flagged for alleged violations of that protection order for scratching his nose with his middle finger while in front of somebody else's house, and saw it through, took it to trial, and I'll let Kurt describe to you the goings-on in Colorado State Court. Hi, Kurt. Thanks for settling in for an interview today. I sure appreciate it. So last time, well, actually, before we get into that, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and how long we've known each other. I think it's about 1995 or 1996, and what you specialize in, and a little bit about your travels.
Well, I've been tinkering in the law for many years now. I think I mentioned 94, somewhere around there. And back then I was a tribal attorney for the Snoqualmas and the Kickialis, and I believe the Pilgrims at the same time. And yeah, I've been, advocating for myself and medical marijuana patients. I've been a medical marijuana patient since '94, and mainly because I was hit by in 1993. I was hit by a one-ton F-350 four-wheel drive with a steel cattle guard while I was on vacation going through Portland, Oregon on my motorcycle. And I spent some time spent a lot of time actually at the hospital in Portland there, in intensive care. And then there I came up to Seattle and spent a few months in the Seattle hospital. And about 3 years of vestibular and physical therapy, learning to walk again. But in '94, my doctor really came to the realization that the only thing that was keeping me alive was a drug known as Marinol. And Marinol at that time was $1,800 for 90 pills. And Marinol consists of synthetic THC and sesame oil. Little ping pong ball shaped pill. And so I was having to take that just to keep my food down. And had a severe chronic nausea problem from getting really injured in that motorcycle accident. And crushed vertebrae, herniated discs. And I was diagnosed with what's called cervical vertigo, which is kind of like being seasick 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So my doctor said, listen, I couldn't afford your medication at $1,800 a month. There's no way. And he goes, you need 120 pills to get you through the month. 1,800 only gets you 90 pills. So he says, I'm going to write you a prescription for marijuana. So I believe I was probably at that time the first guy with an actual prescription for pot in Washington State. And I got arrested a few different times for it. My doctor had to go in and testify for me in court, which quickly got thrown out because the law has always had an exemption for what they call an ultimate user. That's somebody with a doctor's prescription for even a Schedule I drug. And ultimate user statute is if they make marijuana illegal. Because the law under Title 69 that makes marijuana illegal has an exemption under the ultimate user statute. So I don't give a shit what kind of regulations the state makes, or even the new statutes. They can't overcome through the House and through the Senate a law that was passed by a bill through 78% of the voting population, unless they, repeal the statute under Title 69, I believe it is, that makes marijuana illegal. So they got a problem. All their bullshit regulations, and I guess they just passed a new law saying that medical marijuana patients in Washington can't grow their own pot. Do you know that?
How about that?
Yeah. Well, that law is superseded by the ultimate user statute found in Title 69. And so that has no force and effect on real medical marijuana patients. So, yeah, they can do what they want, but, that only applies to people with privileges. They can take privileges away. They cannot take those rights away that are granted through, legislation passed by the voting population. But here in Colorado, I had a patient, a friend of mine that was, he had stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And I went and visited him, and he kept telling me, gee, we got this one sheriff that lives further up the road from me. He comes by every week and informs me that since he knows I'm a medical marijuana patient, he has the right to search my house anytime he wants. And so he comes in and searches it, tears it up, makes a mess every week. Well, the guy's on oxygen. He's got stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Not really what you need to help try to heal. So I went with a guy named Tim Tipton, and we went and filed a complaint against Officer Hannigan of the Park County Sheriff's Department.
Could I get you to speak up just a little?
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
A couple days after I filed that complaint, well, what happened is I walked into the Park County Sheriff's Office, and I had a bag with me, and I didn't really expect to go to the Sheriff's Office. I expected to go and visit a guy with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. So I go in the Sheriff's Office to file a complaint against Hannigan on behalf of my friend, and the Sheriff deputy that's there goes, what do you got in the bag? And I go, cupcakes. You want one? Cupcakes? What the hell are those? I go, it's a donut. Well, he got kind of cheesed off. He goes, you think that's funny? I said, well, I think it's chocolate glazed, but, I didn't want to eat one in front of you, so I brought extras. He goes, I don't want your damn donut. I said, well, I'm here to file a complaint against Officer Hannigan. He goes, well, I know Hannigan. He wouldn't do anything wrong. And I go, oh, so the investigation is over, huh? Oh, no, I didn't say that. I'll take your complaint. So I filed the complaint. The next day, actually 2 days later, I was charged with unlawful practice of law and contempt of Supreme Court in the Colorado State Supreme Court, which I was kind of surprised at that, considering I told him I'm not here to represent anybody. I'm here just, as a favor and as an advocate for a friend of mine that's dying, and I want him to be left alone by this Officer Hannigan. Well, I filed a complaint. They charged me in Supreme Court. When I get to the state Supreme Court, I point out to the prosecutor and the judge, I said, Your Honor, are you aware that this is all based on an administrative complaint I filed against a Park County sheriff? And under the Federal Administrative Procedures Act, it's a felony to threaten or intimidate me for filing that complaint. He goes, is that true, Mr. Eichler? Prosecutor Eichler goes, I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know anything about a Park County complaint. I had to sit down. It floored me. I was shocked. Why would the guy lie like that? So I said, Your Honor, I want that statement made under penalty of perjury. He goes, well, we hold our officers under certain guidelines here. He goes, are you sure, Mr. Eichler? Are you sure you don't know anything about a Park County complaint? He goes, hell no, I don't know anything about a Park County complaint. He's lying. I never heard of anything about it. I said, Your Honor, I said, for the record, I have 2 letters from Mr. Eichler's office. This was in March, early March. And I said, here's a letter from December, and here's another one from January. That's 2 months ago. Actually, less than 2 months ago. It's late January. This is early March, so a month and a half ago, maybe. And I said, discrepancy where he doesn't remember documents he wrote and signed a month and a half ago, or he's lying. And I'm pretty sure it's the latter. And the judge goes, well, let me see those. He looks at the letters. He goes, what about this, Eichler? He just told me he doesn't know anything about these. He goes, well, all I know is that would be privileged information under Rule 220B. He goes, Mr. Eichler, these are criminal charges filed in a court of record, probably published in the newspaper. By what stretch of the imagination am I supposed to imagine that this is privileged information? He goes, well, that's all I know, Your Honor. That's all I know. And I said, Your Honor, I want him arrested for contempt and official misconduct, and maybe even perjury. I said, but that's at least official misconduct and contempt of Supreme Court. I want him arrested. The judge goes, well, he's our head prosecutor. I can't do that. I said, well, he should have thought of that before he lied to you in open court. I just proved it by documentation with his signature on it. I want him arrested. Well, they got all kinds of freaked out. But he goes, no, I can't do that. You'll have to file a complaint with his supervisor, John Gleason. So I said, well, you can bet that's going to be done before the end of the day. So I did. On the way, before he went home, I went and filed a complaint with his supervisor, John Gleason. And Gleason writes me back, well, we'll look into your complaint when he's done prosecuting you. Well, you gotta love these guys. I told him, well, I appreciate you putting in writing that you suborned perjury of your public officials. And then 2 days later, the Wheat Ridge police came and arrested me at my house for felony bribery of the Park County Sheriff.
What'd you bribe them with?
A cupcake. So, I get in front of this, I think his name was Groom, I get in front of this Park County judge, who, what I thought was funny is, I found out that they had an election, right? And 97% of the voting population in Park County voted against this judge. And they said, sorry, he's the 22nd Judicial District Judge. You're stuck with him. And I pointed out, you guys realize your vote means nothing. You don't vote these judges in. Your vote is simply a suggestion. And if they don't like your suggestion, they ignore it. And that's what happened. They voted him out, but they said, sorry, you're stuck with him. He's your judge. And so I get in front of him and I said, Mr. Groom, you got some problems here. Because that's your honor. I said, well, you got some problems here, Mr. Groom. I said, to charge me with felony bribery under Colorado state law, you have to prove that the donut I offered him was a $2,000 donut under your state statutes. Now, you might want to read them before you file charges against me as a felon. Because I said, these felony charges clearly state that it's got to be a minimum of $2,000. Now, I said, this donut wasn't rolled in the size of virgins or cooked in the tallow of 3 extinct animals. It's a 55-cent Safeway donut, and I got a receipt to prove it. Oh, he was pissed. He goes, you think you're smart, don't you, Mr. Riggin? I said, well, no offense, Your Honor, but I know I'm smarter than 3 people in this room. And I looked at him and the 2 prosecutors. And, he calmed down. He goes, that's it. I don't take that from anybody. You're in contempt. He says, you say one more word, I'm giving you 30 days in jail for contempt. I said, objection? Pretty sure that's a word. That's it. You say one more word. I said, well, Your Honor, I really sure have a right to know if this is criminal or civil contempt you're charging me with. You're threatening to charge me with. Which is it, civil or criminal contempt? Criminal contempt. I said, great. Then you must know under the statutes you can only hold me in contempt long enough to correct my contemptuous behavior. So at this point in time, Your Honor, I'm going to apologize, thereby purging the contempt as per the statute. Isn't that correct, sir? Oh, God, he was pissed. He said, you say one more word. I said, objection. I'm pretty sure that's a word. I got some bad news. I'm going to continue to say words. That's why I'm here. If you think I'm going to walk in here and say nothing and let you steamroll me, well, you better, I said, you're going to be in for a big surprise because that's not going to happen here. And he says, get him in here. Well, at this point, I'm going through liver failure and kidneys are kind of shut down. I'm in pretty bad shape because I got a 4-centimeter hole in my chest caused by a Sonoma County sheriff picking me me up off the ground with the billy club up underneath my rib cage multiple times. And they, my liver was fractured in two pieces. And evidently, according to my surgeon, I am the only case in medical history where the bifurcated liver wasn't found post-mortem or by autopsy. So the big man upstairs wants me around for some reason or another, but medically I got no reason to be here. But, so I'm throwing up blood in the garbage can at the court, and the judge hits the button, and 9 sheriffs come in 3 separate doors, all at once. And my friend Tim is like 6'4", 240 pounds, probably 260. And, he's a big boy, and he's standing up, and I'm on crutches. I got these clamp-on crutches that clamp around your wrist. And I'm puking in blood in a garbage can. And they're all these 9 cops come barreling into the court, and they're looking at Tim, and they're going, is that him? Is that him? Is that him? And he's going, it's not me. It's not me. And the judge goes, no, it's that guy right there. The guy puking in the garbage can with the crutches. And they went, well, what do you want us to do? It's hard for a cop, or at least it's hard for 9 cops to look good while they're beating up a man puking in a garbage can with a pair of crutches on. It's just that's an image that's really hard to get over as, I'm a tough guy image. So he said, what do you want us to do? He goes, just get him out of here. So they hauled me out to the parking lot, told me to get out of there. But I filed complaint. I actually had, ended up beating that case in state Supreme Court. And you can Google my name, Kurt Riggin, and the Westward published the Supreme Court decision. So you can actually read that decision. It's kind of fun reading.
Now, excuse me, all this took place in Guatemala, you said?
Yeah, I would hope. No, Jefferson County, Colorado. Which, oddly enough, through my research, the Jefferson County Courthouse, also known as the Taj Mahal, as everybody around here calls it, because it kind of looks like the Taj Mahal. It's in Golden, Colorado. And it is actually owned by the Jefferson County Development Corporation, oddly enough. So is the land it sits on. So here you got a courthouse, and the land it sits on owned by the Jefferson County Development Corporation. Well, oddly enough, the prosecutor's office and the land it sits on is also owned by the Jefferson County Development Corporation, as well as the sheriff's office. Jefferson County Sheriff's Office and the land it sits on is owned by the Jefferson County Development Corporation. Not to mention the Public Defender's Office and the building it sits in. Also, Jefferson County Development Corporation. Now, what's a little bit disconcerting is the makeup of the Jefferson County Development Corporation, how you have judges and prosecutors as officers of this corporation. So, now this corporation is registered with Dun & Bradstreet as a for-profit corporation, and it owns the courthouse, it owns the prosecutor's building, and it owns the public defender's building, and it owns the sheriff's building. And you really got to wonder, how does the state of Colorado operate a court system that's owned by a private corporation that is a for-profit corporation? Do they have for-profit courts here in Colorado? Oh, hell yes, evidently they do. So I really have a problem with a court system that is a for-profit court system owned by a for-profit corporation registered with Dun & Bradstreet that is jailing people. And that is, what they don't seem to understand is the original Constitution that created the state of Colorado, Washington, Montana, South Dakota, North Dakota, Oregon, Idaho, Utah, Nevada, all the western states I've researched, all these states in their original constitutions, which oddly enough, the corporations known as State of Washington, the State of Washington is a for-profit corporation registered at Dun & Bradstreet. They buried that Constitution in 1901, evidently. Well, the last time that box was checked out of the National Archives was 1901, and I was the first guy to check it out in 2001 in 100 years. And in that box was miscellaneous miscellaneous document number 55. Now, miscellaneous document number 55 in the National Archives is the Washington State Walla Walla Constitution of 1878. Now, when you went to the National Archives, originally when you went to the state archives in Walla Walla, or in Washington State in Olympia, and said, I want to copy the 1878 Walla Walla Constitution, they give you a copy, but it said right on that copy, this is a certification that this Constitution was never ratified by Congress. Now, that's something you'd take much of, right? Oh, okay, well, no big deal. That is a very significant statement. And you won't find it on the Walla Walla Constitution if you go get it in Olympia today. Because I made them take it off of there. Because I showed up with the original copy of the Walla Walla State Constitution as the only certified original Constitution for the state of Washington, with a big gold seal, red, white, and blue ribbon. Me, a guy named Lloyd Smith, and Louis Ewing, and Rob Duff, and a couple other guys that were more or less copy guys because they weren't too much into the research end of it. But we went down, we pulled a lot of research, and I pulled those original constitutions. I'm the first guy that ever have, to pull those out of a box in 100 years. And it was Washington, South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado, all the western states were there. And so what they did is they took these original constitutions, their polling records, the fact that they were ratified by Congress, passed by the Senate, signed into law by the President. That's the only constitution that existed for these states. And they buried them in a miscellaneous document file in the National Archives. Now, oddly enough, the constitution that the RCWs in Washington are based on and the CRSs in Colorado are based on doesn't exist anywhere in the National Archives or in the District of Columbia, for that matter. Now, my question to all these law professors coming out of these universities in these specific states is, how does the state of parentheses, all caps, state of Washington, and in the original Constitution of 1878, it says all actions in the name of the state must be in the name of the state of Washington. The state of Washington. You don't see that on any documents coming out of your state government there in Washington. There is no the. And that's in the original Walla Walla Constitution. So it has two provisions in all these western states' constitutions. Because see, what was going on is the railroad was coming, right? Railroad was coming west. And as they were coming west, people saw what happened to the people who didn't want to sell their land for pennies on the dollar. They were buried under those tracks. They killed them. They stole their land. They burned everything to the ground, and then they put a grave under the tracks. Who's ever going to find that? And so a lot of these people that lost their land to the railroad, they didn't just lose their land. If they didn't sell it cheap or give it up, they were killed, and they were buried underneath that railroad.
That's where I bury all my dead bodies.
Exactly. So these people saw what was going on. The people in all these western states going, hey, dude, I don't like what they did in Kansas and some of these other states. They really put a bad taste in their mouth. So they put two provisions in their constitutions. One of them says no city, county, or state official can use his powers or authorities to enrich any corporation whatsoever. It doesn't say except municipal corporations or county corporations or state corporations. It says any corporation whatsoever. It also has a provision that says corporate executives and their major controlling stockholders are to be held criminally liable for the actions of the corporation. Now, I want you to roll out over your brain there for a minute. Now, what would this country be like if those two provisions were in force and effect, which actually have never been repealed and are the only legal constitutions that exist for these states? Now, what would happen if those provisions were in force and effect? Every cop would be a criminal. First of all, let's start right there. Every cop who enriches any corporation whatsoever, which is, every city, county, or state in all these states, one of them would be a criminal under the original Constitution. So would every politician, anybody who's enriching these corporate states. And what they do is here in Colorado, they go, oh, gee, we're a home rule city, so we can violate the state constitution. We can do whatever we want, even though it's against state law. Wrong. Colorado Constitution is very clear. Only unincorporated cities and towns can be home rule. You can't use the constitutional home rule under the original Constitution if you're a corporation. Sorry, that would be a violation, and that would be perjury and official misconduct.
For starters.
Just for starters, yeah. You can go down the list. So, I've been living here for a few years. I've been sick, and at points dying. I've been in and out of liver and kidney failure in hospitals, and just last December, I needed 7 IV bags to keep me alive. And that's my record's 9. But I was, pretty close to liver and kidney failure. After 7 bags of IV fluid, I still wasn't able to take a leak for a good 4 hours. But at least I got out of the hospital and I was able to walk out. They had to bring me in by ambulance. Actually, what I did is I went to my doctor's clinic here, Kaiser Permanente Clinic, and my doctor called an ambulance and gave me 2 bags of IV fluid, and I wasn't responding, so he had to haul me off to a place about 40 miles north, a diagnostic hospital that could handle me. But I'm still kicking. But, like the doctor says, because there's no medical reason you should be here. Medically, there's no reason you should be alive. You got 2 reasons to be dead. One was a 4-centimeter hole about the size of a silver dollar in the middle of my chest, and the other one's a liver fractured in 2 pieces.
Third one's a bad attitude.
Yeah, well, that's what keeps me alive, I think. They piss me off so bad, it brings me right out of the death, the death swirl. I circle the drain, I get pissed off, and I'm like, those fucking pricks, I'm going to make them, excuse my French, those guys are going to pay. And, I keep alive just for that reason.
Well, for anybody that knows me, listening to you, they now fully understand where I get my attitude.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, when I met Dave, he was doing a lot of different work and stuff, including, some photography work for Santa and the Easter Bunny, and he had a lot of shit going on, but he really didn't have any interest in law to speak of.
Oh no, I was fully engaged in tax litigation when I met you.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, I was heavy into the tax code.
But you were listening to the wrong people.
Yeah, the Patriot movement was luring me, and that first lesson I got out of you was, here's the Patriot movement, put it in a box, put it over there, and I don't want to hear about it.
Exactly. Now let's look at the law.
Amen.
Let's look at the rules.
Amen.
And are they playing by them? Yeah, they never do. And they go, oh, gee, we didn't know. It's like in my case, okay? After I beat their ass in state Supreme Court, they continued. They didn't want to let me go. And what's funny is after I caught Eichler lying to the judge and tried to get him arrested, the head prosecutor for the state Supreme Court, who prosecutes all the attorneys in the state, evidently supposed to be the best. He is the dumbest dick I've ever ran across. What a shithead. But, so, here's the funny part. He's charging me with violating a order from the state Supreme Court. He's saying you committed, you violated an order to enjoin you from practicing law in the state Supreme Court by filing a complaint against a police officer. And he alleged that I went into the police station and said, yeah, I'm here to represent John, in which I said, I'm here as a advocate for my friend John, and I'm in no way representing anybody. That was on tape, by the way. And so the funny part about it is they had a 20-minute tape. Now, their witness, they had 2 witnesses. One was the cop I filed the complaint with, and the other one was the what do they call her? Receptionist when you walk into the police station, right? She's working the front desk. And she said that I came in and said I was representing this John guy and that I needed to talk to the sheriff and wanted to file a complaint. Well, that never happened. And then she said I was in for like 2 hours talking to the police officer. Well, he taped the whole conversation, and it was exactly 20 minutes. So that didn't really make her testimony look too good.
She was talking about how long on the clock she got paid to listen to it.
Exactly. So they had her testify that, I came and said I was representing this guy, and then I said that, then she said I had talked to the cop for 2 hours. Well, they taped the whole thing. And on the tape, I said, I'm not representing anybody. I'm here as an advocate for my friend John, who's a, stage 4 pancreatic cancer patient and cannot leave his home because he's on oxygen and he's really, really sick. So I'm here to file a complaint on his behalf. And I said, right now I just want to make it an informal complaint, and if I have to, I'll make it a formal complaint if he doesn't stop picking on my friend. Well, they didn't take kindly with that. And so in the tape, they have a 20-minute tape conversation, that's in there, and exactly 3 minutes of me talking was in there. I said, if I have to, I'll go after his bond. And I understand, some of you public servants have to be bonded. And if I take his bond, he can't even work at Walmart driving around to Canada Mace in a flashlight. They got to be bonded for that. So, I don't want to take him out of his career. I just want him to leave my friend alone. And, so I filed a complaint. And then they prosecuted me in the state Supreme Court. And when I catch the prosecutor line, they arrested me and charged me. So here I am. I'm being prosecuted in Park County, which is a good 2-hour drive, maybe 3 from Denver, but at least 2 hours, through some serious mountain roads. It's way up at above 11,000 feet. It's in a town called Fairplay. And
Excuse me.
it's quite
Excuse me. What was the name of the town?
Fairplay, also known as South Park.
Wow.
You ever heard of South Park?
Sorry, yes.
Bunch of potty mouthed little kids used to live. Yeah, well.
Coincidence.
Yeah. Fairplay was formerly known as South Park back in the old days. Back in the old Western days, it was South Park. Well, here I'm being tried in Fairplay for unlawful practice of law. Or no, first they charged me with unlawful in the Supreme Court. Then they charged me with felony bribery in Fairplay. And when I pointed out to the judge, you got to prove this is a $2,000 donut, and I got you on that. But he goes, well, you think you're smart. I'm amending the charge to felony intimidation of an officer and felony criminal impersonation. I said, criminal impersonation? Who do you think I am? He said, you said you were a lawyer. You can't call yourself a lawyer. He says, he looked up your bar number, and that's the same number as one of the state Supreme Court justices here in Colorado. I said, that's a federal bar number, 7604. Yeah, that's a federal bar number. And I said, I never said I was a member of the state bar. I said, I never said I was a lawyer either. I said, I just said I was a member of the federal bar. I said, so, you're charging me with felony bribery or you amended the felony bribery charge to felony intimidation of an officer and felony criminal impersonation.
Brandishing a donut.
Yeah, brandishing a donut. And so, this is what is known as SLAP. A SLAP litigation. It's not SLAP, this is more crap. SLAP is civil litigation against public participation. That's what SLAP stands for. This is criminal prosecution for public participation. More like crap.
Now, hang on. What was that judge's name?
The one, and I think it was Judge Joshua Groom or Green. Might have been Groom, but he was the Park County judge that was voted out in Park County and still is the Park County judge, even though everybody voted against him. And, he was pretty upset because when, after they amended the complaint to 2 felony charges, and by the way, they took my DNA and they took my retinal scan by force.
That's just what I would have done.
Yeah. And so after they did that, and I won in state Supreme Court, and I get a judgment back from the state Supreme Court judge saying, hey, this guy was doing nothing wrong. He was filing an administrative complaint, and he was prosecuted. Well, I brought this to the attention of the prosecutor. He says, I don't care. We're still going to prosecute you. And I said, well, here's the problem, dude. You do realize that you cannot stop me from handing a copy of this Supreme Court decision to every juror on my jury. There ain't shit you can do to stop me. Nor the judge. Neither of you have the authority to stop me from handing the copy of the Supreme Court decision in my favor for this very issue to every juror. You think you can find me guilty? Really? Because they're going to realize I was just tried in the Supreme Court and won for the same damn thing. So I got a feeling that there ain't a jury out there. There's probably not too many jurors out there that never heard of the word double jeopardy. And you guys agreed when I made a complaint to you last year that you're trying me in two separate courts at the same time for the same offense, and where I come from, that's called double jeopardy. And you made it real clear that whoever found me guilty first, that the other one would drop the charges. So I wouldn't have double jeopardy. Well, that's funny. One was an hour drive downtown to get to, and the other one was a 2 to 3 hour drive up in the mountains, depending on conditions. And so, gee, here I'm having to bounce while I'm in hospice care, by the way, and sometimes on oxygen. So, while I'm going through this and dying of liver failure because I have a fractured liver that the cops can't, or the doctors can't figure out why. I have normal liver functions when they test my blood, but I'm gray and I'm looking like I'm dying of liver failure. My skin's gray, my eyes are yellow. And they're going, wow, we don't understand it. Well, when they finally tested my ammonia levels in my blood, they found out, gee, you're dying of liver failure. Oh, thanks. That's kind of what I've been telling you for the last year, right? I feel like it. Oh, yeah, I guess you are. So that's when they had to go in and do the surgery to try to fix that. But, while I'm going through all this medical crap, they're prosecuting me in two separate courts at the same time. Well, I kicked their ass, and finally they dismissed the charges in Park County based on the win in Supreme Court. They realized that, they couldn't stop me from showing the jury, and they couldn't convince the jury that, yeah, this guy should be prosecuted, even though the Supreme Court found him innocent for the same thing. So I beat that. Not long afterwards, I guess it was the day before Thanksgiving in 2012, we get a call from the credit card company. And they go, gee, are you guys making a Walmart purchase? And I go, no, we don't buy anything from Walmart unless we're stuck in some, small town where that's the only store they got. So yeah, no, that's not our credit card. I go, no, your credit card's making its third Walmart purchase this morning. And I'm like, well, that would be a stolen credit card then. So we report it stolen. We call the Wheat Ridge police. The old lady calls up the Wheat Ridge police. Yeah, somebody stole my credit card and my purse out of my vehicle. And you know what the Wheat Ridge police told her? Yeah, we're too busy. Sorry, we can't come out and take any report from you. So I'm like, oh, isn't that swell? They're too busy to take a stolen credit card report. Now, if you get your credit card stolen in Denver, you get to see the guy who stole your credit card on TV on the news. Now, there's a big difference here between the way Wheat Ridge handles stolen credit cards and the way Denver handles stolen credit cards. They'll take that. And I had videotape of the guy using it 3 times at Walmart. He used another credit card at a Shell station. And then he paid his phone bill with another credit card. And the cops were too busy to even investigate the report. So I got up, got dressed, and went out and started looking through the trash cans up along the street, because first thing one of these punks do when they steal a purse or a pocketbook, especially a fancy painted one, a Nushka, they don't want to be caught carrying that thing around because it really kind of looks bad. So they throw it in the nearest garbage can. So I go up the street, I'm looking through the garbage cans to try to find them. I'm asking them, hey, you guys mind if I look through your garbage can? And the neighbors, no, go ahead. I'm looking for a purse that was stolen last night. So, didn't find it. I'm coming back past the old lady's house up the street. You got a protection order, a temporary protection order served on me back in 2006 for threatening to sue her. And according to her, I looked at her like I was going to get her. So that was what the report said. They gave her a permanent protection order, and they served a temporary one on me, but they never did serve a permanent protection order on me, ever. Now, the permanent one was a lot different than the temporary one that was served on me. And under state law, if there's any difference, it's It's no good unless they serve it on me.
Now, when you threaten to sue somebody, if you're like me, don't you like curl your lip like Elvis used to snarl? You know, and say, I'm going to sue you.
I said, the lady says, listen, we got this fence that's been here for 50 years between the two properties, of which she didn't own the other property. She was the caretaker of the other property, right? And she goes, I'm going to tear this fence down and move it over 1.5 feet. Because the property line that I have, well, she had a survey from 1938, and the house was built in 1954. So how could the survey say that the property line was 5 feet from the house when there wasn't a house there for another 20 years?
Those details.
And she actually got a permit based on a 1938 survey, which I thought was interesting, and she swore that was the most recent survey. Well, that's funny. We had one from the year before that said that the property line was actually 1.5 feet on the other side of where the fence was currently. So not only did she take 1.5 feet, but she took 3 feet. Once you figure out this is where the property line actually was, and the fence, and we said, listen, if you just want to replace the fence where it is, we'll pay for half of it. And she said, screw you. No way. So she moved the fence, and, I was gone when she did it, of course. And she got the cops to, take my old lady into custody, and they couldn't arrest her because she didn't do it. All she threatened to do is she goes, oh, if you don't leave, I'm going to turn the sprinklers on. And I'm going to get you guys are going to get wet staying here. And they said, oh, that's a threat of violence. So they threw her to the ground, and she's got Parkinson's. They handcuffed her. And they knew they couldn't take her to jail or charge her with anything, so what they did is they had her sent to Denver Hospital and tried to get her held on a 72-hour psych eval for threatening to use the law against it. And luckily I went down and found her because they wouldn't tell me where the hell she was. So I went down and found her at the hospital and told them, listen, unless you want a kidnapping charge, you better get her out of there now. She goes, oh, we have an officer's order to hold her. I said, from where, lady? Oh, from Wheat Ridge. I go, really? Where are you? Denver. I said, is Denver even in the same county as Wheat Ridge? Well, no. I said, it is definitely not the same town. I said, you do realize a Wheat Ridge officer has no jurisdiction outside the jurisdiction of Wheat Ridge? I said, he can't arrest me in Lakewood. He can't arrest me in Denver. He can only arrest me in Wheat Ridge. And once he takes me out of Wheat Ridge, he has no jurisdiction at all. And I can actually use like force to resist an unlawful arrest, up to and including deadly force under federal law. So I said, you really think you have authority to hold somebody in Denver who was brought here by a Wheat Ridge police officer? I said, do you understand kidnapping is a felony and I can have you arrested for that within probably an hour? Boom, she was out within minutes. She was never arrested. Oh, yeah, right. That's why you had her handcuffed and strapped to a gurney.
Happens all the time.
Yeah. Oh, no, but she was never arrested. We were just merely detaining her. So, I found her, get her back. Oh, by the way, I had a bunch of Crow Indians here visiting during what they called the Carnation Festival. And the Wheat Ridge police told them, your kind isn't welcome here in Colorado, and you got 1 hour to get the hell out of the state. Well, their van was broken down. Parked in front of my house. How the hell are they going to get the hell out of state in an hour? And if you left Denver at 90 miles an hour in any direction, you can't get out of state in an hour. So I told them, just go in the house, don't answer the door, and wait till I get there. And I was on the phone to their sergeant, chewing some ass on the way home. And they were afraid to come back. After that, they're not allowed to talk to me unless there's at least 2 police officers. Gotta love that.
Learn the hard way.
I saw him at the Safeway. Hey, how you doing? He goes, oh, I'm sorry, I can't talk to you. I said, what? He said, I got to have another officer present, otherwise I can't talk. Okay. Yeah, I bet.
That's
it takes 2 brains.
Yeah, there has to be a whole brain on the scene.
Exactly. And then what's funny is, so, I walked past this old lady's house in 2012, the day before Thanksgiving. Cop shows up at my house. Before I can get the 3 houses down to my house, he shows up in front of my house with 3 cop cars. I'm like, oh, great, you guys are here for the stolen credit cards. He goes, oh, I don't know anything about that. But I heard you threaten a lady up the street. I'm like, dude, I just walked from there. So the time it took me to walk 3 house lengths, they had 3 cars here for me scratching my nose. But for stolen credit cards, they were way too busy. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. He said, did you go in her yard and threaten her? I said, hell no. I never stepped foot in her yard, and I got a witness to prove it. He goes, well, I'm going to go ask her. If she says you did, I'm going to come back and arrest you. Oh, okay. I said, good luck with that. So he goes up the street, and I said, yeah, honey, I'm going to go check out I'm going to straighten out the stolen credit card situation. So I'll talk to you later. So I hop in the car, and I boogie over to the bank. Well, by the time I get to the bank, she's calling up, hey, the cop wants you back here. He wants to talk to you. I said, yeah, I bet he does. Put him on the phone. We put her on the phone. I said, yeah, you know what? He goes, if you don't get back here, I'm going to put a warrant out for your arrest. I said, yeah, well, if you were a judge, I'd be all kinds of worried. But you're just a moron cop. I said, and your ignorance of the law does not constitute a violation of the law on my part. So you go ahead and do what you got to do. But I said, here's where I'm at. I'm in Arvada. Come get me. Boom. Within a couple minutes, I was sitting in the back of a friend of mine's blacked out SUV, with blacked out windows. Shit, within minutes, there was all kinds of cops, Wheat Ridge and Arvada cops, swarming all over that parking lot, looking for yours truly.
Wow.
And so I went and hung out at a friend of mine's place up in Boulder County for a while, during Thanksgiving. Couldn't come home for Thanksgiving because of those pricks. And evidently, in December, he gets a warrant issued for my arrest. December 2012. Well, I'm an in-home hospice patient. I only go a few places, the store maybe, once in a while to the doctor, the clinic, to the hospital. I don't get out much. So they don't have an opportunity to actually come and pull me over. So he was all pissed off. So the cops, about 2 days before the warrant was to expire, they forced their way through the front door, pushed my old lady into the closet who has Parkinson's, and then they took me into custody. I said, you got a warrant? I need to see it. And what's funny is I had a PTSD attack over that because I almost killed 2 cops in my house. I mean, I am an edged weapons expert, and there is no place in my house I can't reach an edged weapon. And I almost killed 2 of them. I mean, I wouldn't even have to get up off the couch. I could have just thrown those knives I had sitting next to me and stuck them both in a carotid artery, and either one of those guys would have made it. They might have made it to their guns, maybe, maybe not.
Yeah, now before your auto accident in 1993, you were kind of an instructor of sorts, weren't you?
I taught Kempo and Bushenyang Gong Fu and Qigong, also known as Iron Shirt Gong Fu, for about 18 years. So, yeah, I also taught edge weapons, martial arts, from the chakus to staff to, you name it. I was considered a weapons expert. So, don't really need a gun to kill people. It's pretty simple, super easy. And, when they come into my house and they're armed and I know I have the right to kill them under state law, just because they were acting on a stupid old lady's word, I didn't do it. I knew they didn't really have the intent to do what they did to me in Washington, which was they tried to kill me in Washington State. I mean, Dave knows, after they worked me over from like 7 o'clock till 1:30 in the morning, they take me to the jail, and the jailer says, there's no way, I can't even take pictures of this guy. He's covered with his own blood. So they stripped me down, and they threw me, well, they didn't strip me down, they just threw me in the shower. And then they let me take my clothes off so they would dry after a good hour.
That was after they took you to the hospital, though, right?
Yeah, that was after he made him take me to the hospital. But I didn't actually get to see a doctor. They took me into what looked like some kind of grief room or something, where they talk to people, counsel people that are, have their relatives dying. And they had some guy that looked like a nurse come in.
Kurt, here's a tourniquet. How are you feeling right now?
Yeah. And he said, dude, this guy, we got to x-ray his wrists. They look broken. And the cop goes, you got to pick which one you want to x-ray. We don't have time for both of them. So he said, which one do you want x-rayed? I go, well, this one's broken a lot worse than the other one. Well, what they would do is when they stuck the cuffs on me, they put them on as tight as they could get them. And then they backed me up to a Chevy bladed bumper, and they smacked each cuff twice with a 6 battery mag light, causing and my fingers as far apart as I could get them, and they were still touching.
And the reason was because you were Washington State's first medical marijuana patient.
Yeah, and I helped write the medical marijuana law. And I was, active in filing complaints against public officials. So I had no problem filing a complaint against a cop, getting his ass fired, or a judge, or a prosecutor. And I've been known to have caused some to go to prison. And so, yeah, I'd get the cops driving by my house, flipping me off in broad daylight.
Yeah, now, to just pause a second and get out of Colorado back to Washington State, February 2002, this raid on your house and the assault, the attempted murder, a bunch of jewelry and precious metals were stolen out of your safe. You used to be a jeweler.
Gold.
Guns were stolen. They cut the power cord off of all your appliances. Did any of the police officers that stole those guns ever try to offload them?
Actually, there was a few that went down for them, because the thing is, they stole all my guns, they stole all the paperwork, but they left behind the boxes. Now, not all my guns were new, but a lot of them were new. And guess what's on the boxes of a new gun?
Serial number?
Exactly. Serial numbers. So I went and tried to file a complaint for my stolen guns to the sheriff, and they said, yeah, we're not taking any reports from you, Riggin. We know who you think stole them. I said, oh, you mean you know who I know stole them? So I said, all right, you guys ain't taking any complaints. I went and filed it with the ATF. Now, I had a considerable list of boxes that were left behind and the serial numbers that were on them. And 2 years later, one of the sheriff's deputies from Snohomish County is selling 2 guns to an ATF agent, which he didn't know was an ATF agent, evidently.
At a gun show?
At a Puyallup gun show in Puyallup.
Puyallup is a city down near Tacoma, Washington. Go ahead. Yeah,
so here he's selling 2 guns, and my friend Doug, who was a gunsmith, and he worked with the ATF and the FBI and these guys. He did their machine guns and stuff, and maintained their guns and their M16s and shit. And he said he noticed that these 3 guys that he recognized from the ATF were kind of standing around this guy's booth, and this other guy that he recognized, he said there's 4 guys that are pretty obvious ATF agents, and he said they look like they're kind of crouching down a little bit, kind of like you're getting ready to leap. He said, I knew something was up, so I kept watching him. The guy's writing out a receipt for the gun, he's selling these 2 guns, and he shows him his badge. Yeah, see, I'm a sheriff from Snohomish County. They're going, oh yeah, that's impressive, and they're all impressed by the badge. And then as soon as he writes out the receipt and hands him the receipt, the guy grabs the receipt with his left hand and quickly, with his right hand, slaps the cuffs on his wrist, and then informs him, you're under arrest for theft and sales of guns.
Stolen guns.
Stolen guns, yeah. Well, you got, once you steal them, yeah, selling them is, kind of secondary. But it's a mandatory 5 years per offense per gun. So he knew he was looking at 20 years in prison. He stole it, he sold it. That's 5 years each, times 2, 20 years. And my friend Doug said he curled up in a fetal position and started screaming and bawling like a baby. I guess he kind of knew where he was headed.
Yeah, and he had seen what victims do when they get busted like that.
Yeah. So, and eventually that led to a lot of other officers' houses being searched. And some of them got caught with guns, as well as one of them evidently got caught with a whole lot of videotapes of him raping his young 10 or 11-year-old daughter.
You said videotape he had of him raping his 11-year-old daughter?
Yeah. I think he started at 9 or 10. He stopped at 12.
And this was a Snohomish County deputy?
Yep.
Snohomish County is the county north of King County, where Seattle's the county seat. So Everett's the county seat, county in Washington State here. Go ahead.
Well, evidently he was released on a $500,000 bond, and he split. He jumped bail. From what I understand, they caught him in the Chinese airport in Beijing or Hong Kong, but he was headed to China, and they are pretty quick to extradite people like that.
Sure.
Asian countries, they don't want rapists, child molesters in their country.
Well, in Europe, actually, if you're a foreign rapist, they'll give you benefits when you arrive, if you've heard the headlines.
Yeah. Well, funny part about it is his daughter actually looked me up and thanked me. Which is kind of cool. But she said he would have never been caught. It wasn't me.
You said the guy's daughter looked you up, found you?
Yeah. Yep. She said if you had many three of you standing up, and almost getting murdered, she goes, you would have never been caught.
Right on.
So she goes, I was afraid, who am I going to turn him into? He's a sheriff deputy. I turn him into his friends.
Turn him into Rick Bart.
Yeah.
Rick Bart was the sheriff of Snohomish County, former DEA for 15 years, something like that.
Yeah, well, he hadn't touched her since she was 12. I guess she was too old for him at that point. But it's not something she'll ever forget, I'm sure.
So back to Colorado. They arrested you for scratching your nose with your middle finger in front of this woman's house.
Yeah, violation of a protection order, which, oddly enough, I proved was never signed by a judge. The one they served on me, the temporary protection order, was never signed by a judge, or even a clerk, for that matter. And the one that was the one that was served on me. The one that was never served on me was signed by a judge, but it was never served on me, and that was proved. But what's funny is they had a proof of service from 2006, and this guy, this cop that served the temporary protection order, he never he never did a proper proof of service. He wrote somebody else's name on the proof of service, crossed their name out, and then wrote my name above it. Which, where I come from, when you take another defendant's name and cross it out off of a legal document and write some other defendant's name in there, that kind of voids the document.
Right.
You can't just take Joe Blow, his criminal complaint, and go, well, I'm gonna put Sue. I'll add Sue to this one instead. We'll cross Joe Blow's out. We'll put Sue Blow here. There we go.
Sure. After all, it's Colorado.
Right. Yeah. What the hell? They can tell you fast and loose. So that's kind of how they did it. And then he never did serve a permanent protection order on me ever. Well, what's funny is when I go to court and I point out the fact that, gee, I've never been served with this. They actually forged a proof of service and backdated it to 2006. But see, what they didn't count on is what's a court stamp kind of like?
Say that again.
What is a court stamp similar to? It's kind of like a shoe, isn't it?
Unique.
I mean, it's got a little foam rubber, and it's got some rubber on top of it, a little foam rubber, and they use it to stamp documents all day long, right?
Okay.
5 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week, and eventually, after 1 to 3 years, about after 3 years, those rubber stamps start wearing out so they're harder to read. And so they have to replace court stamps every 3 years in a court that does any kind of business. And so when they change those court stamps, they don't keep the same fonts. They don't keep the stamp says the same thing, but it's usually either in a different font or a different shape. They'll have they'll go from a round seal to a square seal to a rectangle seal, but it's always something a little different every 3 years, right? Well, I have been sending people, including myself, going down and getting copies of this file since 2006. And I didn't even notice until my hospice nurse goes, all these stamps are different. I go, oh, what? She goes, yeah, look, these stamps are all different. And she brought it to my attention that, hey, these stamps are different every 3 years. It's the same stamp for 3 years, and then it's a different stamp every 3 years. So between 2003 and 2006, they had a specific stamp. And then after 2006 to 2007, 8, 9, they had a different stamp. And then they changed that one. And so what they did is they took a stamp that was from 2010, and they stamped it 2006. Because the font and the shape of that stamp was used between 2010 and 2013. And I can prove that stamp didn't exist until 2010 when they actually purchased it and started using it for the court.
Well, if that isn't inconvenient, I don't know what is.
So I mean, their own stamp screwed them because they stamped it 2006 and said, yeah, I did serve it, here's the proof of service, and it's a legitimate proof of service. I'm like, well, that's funny. The stamp don't look nothing like the one I have from 2006. Well, that doesn't mean anything. I said, whoa, yeah, unfortunately for you, it really does. And so, I had a tribal court, the Carluck Tribal Court, which is a federally recognized tribe, did an order of removal and an order to show cause to the Jefferson County Court why this case should be vacated and dismissed because the protection order was never valid in the first place and it was never served on me, and you can't arrest me and charge me and threaten me with, 6 years in prison for violating the protection order I was never served with. Now, when I was in the Supreme Court, they charged me for violating the Supreme Court in order to enjoin from practicing law. The Supreme Court prosecutor actually served me in court in March with a court order, right? And the judge goes, what is this? What are you doing? He goes, I'm serving him with the order that he's violation, that I'm charging him for violating. He goes, let me get this straight. You've already charged him last year for violating this order, and you're just serving it on him now in March? That's correct. He goes, I don't understand how that works.
Well, it's Colorado.
Don't you have to serve it on him before you charge him for violating? He goes, well, he knew about it. I can prove it. Well, great. Let's see it. Well, he talked about it to me on the phone. And I got a witness that's willing to tell you that he talked about it to her on the phone, too. He goes, unfortunately, that isn't proof of service. She goes, well, yeah, but he knew about it, so that doesn't matter. I don't have to serve him. Yeah, well, unfortunately for him, the judge begged to differ with him on that. You can't charge him last October for violating the protection order. You served him in March of this year. It just doesn't work that way. He goes, well, he knew about it, so yeah, it does work.
Jeez.
So, yeah, here they try to do the same fucking thing. Yeah, we're charging you with violating that protection order that we never served on you, but you knew about it, so therefore, we got you. Like, man, you guys really play it fast and loose. And 98% of the people that go through the Jefferson County court systems plead guilty. 97 to 98% all plead guilty. Because the public defenders, they ain't going to do shit for you. I told them, hey, your public defender is neither competent nor effective. And under Gideon versus Wainwright and Argesinger versus Hamlin, I have the right to competent and effective assistance of counsel. Your public defender is neither. I'm not going to plead guilty to something I can't be found guilty of. And so, yeah, you might as well just forget that one. And so I was handling my own case until I got really, really sick. And then finally I said, I can't do this. I'm on fentanyl, I'm on morphine, I'm on a lot of different medications, and I can't even think straight. You want me to handle a trial where I'm a defendant?
We got him now.
Yeah, and I said I demand assistance of counsel, but I demand competent and effective assistance counsel, and I want co-counsel. And so they actually had to hire a private attorney who was very competent. Nice lady, Nancy Johnson. And I had to threaten her a couple times. I said, look, if you don't ask these questions, I'm going to fire you right now, and I'll ask the questions. Well, I don't feel comfortable doing that. I said, I don't give a shit. Your comfort means zero to me. My discomfort means everything. I said, my discomfort is me going to jail. Your discomfort is, gee, you don't feel comfortable doing it. Well, that's tough. If you don't do it, I'll can you right now, and I'll do it. So she got up and asked the lady, what was the threat he made towards you? She said, well, he threatened to sue me. Okay. What other threat? She goes, well, he looked at me like he was going to get me. Okay. You got to have some other threat, right? And she didn't have anything else. She goes, that's not enough. You've got to have some other kind of threat, a real threat. And she thought about it for 2 minutes. I watched the clock, dude. She didn't say a word for 2 minutes. And then she said, well, he said he had a gun in his pocket. I about fell out of my chair because in 9 years of her testifying of me threatening her, she has never once said, I had a gun in my pocket. And then she wouldn't ask me any more questions. Okay, we're done. I'm like, bullshit. You better get up there and start grilling her on that one. No, she wouldn't do it. I said, I'll fire her if you don't. I said, I'll tell you what. All you got to do now is ask the cop. If you go ask the police officer if I mentioned a gun, or if she said that I mentioned a gun, you ask him, and we'll see what he said. I said, if he doesn't answer right, I'm going to make you call her back up. And so she called him up and said, did she ever mention that he said anything about a gun? He goes, oh, no, we'd have had a case if he'd have done that. Then he goes, oh, I mean, we'd have had a better case if he'd have done that.
Oh, yeah. Missed it. Yeah, right. Hey, let me clarify.
But 4 jurors, I seen 4 of the 6 jurors' heads go up about an inch, crank to the side. They totally caught that. Wait a minute. We'd have had a case if he'd have said that?
Wow.
And then her husband gets up. And so she's sequestered. She can't be in the court, right?
And he can't be in court when she's testifying.
She's sequestered. She couldn't be in court for him to testify. Otherwise, I'm sure he'd have said something different.
No, I mean, he couldn't be in court when she was testifying either.
What's that?
He could not be in the court when she was testifying either, right?
Right, correct.
Okay, go ahead.
Because the witnesses are all sequestered. So he gets up and they said, oh, did Mr. Riggin go onto your property? She said, oh, he went into my property. He threatened me. He called me names. And, he looked at me like he was going to get me. And so they called him up and said, did he go on his property? He goes, no, he never stepped anywhere near our property.
This is the husband now.
Oh, yeah, this is her husband. Did he yell at her? Did he call her names? He goes, no. I think I heard him say something like crazy old bad under his breath. My attorney goes, well, could he have been talking to himself? He goes, oh, he was definitely talking to himself.
Oh, okay.
So her main witness couldn't corroborate any of her testimony, which kind of screwed her case. That's kind of problematic,
Like the photos.
Yeah, oh yeah. And then they asked her, do you have any photographs of these people? She goes, well, no. She goes, you don't have any photographs of them? Well, a couple. Well, how many's a couple? I don't know, a few. A few? More than what, 6 or 10? Well, I don't know. So I don't really have any pictures of them per se. And then my attorney had pulled up a transcript from a hearing where she testified on behalf of the next door neighbors, trying to get a permanent protection order against me.
From how long ago?
It was 2 years ago. And she testified at that time that she had over 650 pictures of us and over 2,000 hours of videotape. And she also testified she had a logbook of every vehicle that had pulled in front of her house, their license number, the duration of their stay, and whether they carried a package in or out of the house. And so she asked her, do you have these pictures? No, I don't have any pictures. Don't know what you're talking about. And so she walked up with a copy, the certified copy of the transcript with a highlighted section and say, read this highlighted section and just show the jurors. Here's what she testified to 2 years ago under penalties of perjury. She testified she had 650 pictures of these people. and over 2,000 to 3,000 hours of videotape. And then she said, well, do you have a logbook? I don't know what you're talking about. She goes, you don't have a logbook of every vehicle license number that's pulled up in front of his house in the last 10 years? She goes, no, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know anything about that. So then she walked over to the jury, showed him the transcript from 2 years ago. This is where she testified 2 years ago that she has a logbook of every vehicle's license number of every vehicle that's ever pulled up in front of their house in the last 9 years. The duration of their stay, descriptions of people going in and out, yeah, everything. And that really creeped the jury out, man. Because especially when they realized, well, they see one guy's a lawyer and the other one's a doctor that live in this house. And she also admitted that she was a member of InfraGard. Now, when you look that up, you'll find InfraGard is directly connected to the FBI. And this is the lady that, when I had a warrant for my arrest out of Park County, she knew it before the Wheat Ridge police knew it. She called them up and said, there's a warrant for Mr. Riggin's arrest, and he's here at home now. You need to come and get him. One cop said, I looked it up. I said, there's no warrant for Riggin. She goes, yes, there is. He goes, no, I'm looking at the computer now. There's nothing here. And he says, all of a sudden, boom, it popped up.
Wow.
So, evidently, InfraGard people know long before the local police know. So she went out there with a lounge chair and was sitting out in the neighbor's yard with a lounge chair while the cops came and got me.
A lounge chair and an umbrella drink?
Yep. That was her. I mean, she's crazy as a loon, that gal. But I think the jury started realizing when she started lying and said, well, he said he had a gun in his pocket. She goes, well, that's funny. It's never been said before. It's not on any report. Did you say that to the police? Wouldn't that be important? Because that's all I remember. And then, Elke had a hearing where she was trying to vacate her protection order, which was already vacated. Well, see, I did an order to vacate the civil protection order in a federal court. We brought it before the civil. We brought the civil protection order before the tribal court. We did an order to show cause twice, once before the tribal court, once before the tribal Supreme Court. They ignored it. We then said, okay, I guess we're going forward. You got a default judgment. So we got a default judgment through the tribal court. We got a default judgment through the tribal Supreme Court. We then filed it in Thurston County Superior Court as a foreign judgment. Then we went to the Federal District Court in Denver and we filed it as a foreign judgment there, which was accepted as a foreign judgment. Jefferson County says, we don't care. We don't give a shit. We're going to prosecute you anyways, even though it has been dismissed and removed. We don't care.
Now, the name of the judge that said they don't care about that, who was that, and are they any relation to some other judge?
Yeah, Judge Jean Woodford, who is the daughter of Eugene Woodford, former presiding judge there in Jefferson County, who Eugene Woodford, some 10 years ago, put a guy who claimed to be a patriot in prison for 10 years because he did the same exact case as mine. They got a protection order against this guy that was based on a threat to litigate. They made it permanent. They never served it on him. Then they arrested him for violating it. And when he brought in, hey, you can't do this. It's against the Constitution. It's against all these laws, all these rules. And judge says, I don't give a shit. Take it up on appeal, you dumb shit.
And Eugene Woodford was a judge where?
Jefferson County District Court. In the higher court to where she's a county court judge. And I pointed out, under my research, they got these county courts that are throwing people in prison for, years at a time. They're fining them for thousands of dollars. And according to my research, the county court used to be the justice court. Back in 1962, it was the justice court. And the justice court had a maximum jurisdiction of 30 days in jail and a $300 fine. Now, that's quite a step between that and 18 years in prison and $10,000 fine. That's what they tried to lay on me.
And what law did they base their extended jurisdiction on?
Oh, they did. That's the problem. They they just changed the name from justice court to county court. And then they said, well, okay, now that we're county court, we now have 60 days jurisdiction, so we can throw you in jail for 60 days, and now we can just fine you up to $600. And somewhere between 62 or 64 and 1984, they expanded it to unlimited $16,000 jurisdiction, and, you know, they could send you to prison for 18 years. And they call it the combined court. So how do you homogenize court jurisdiction?
Well, it has to be done by statute.
Yeah, well, it wasn't. And the problem is they can't do it by statute unless there's a law, you know, a session law that allows them to do that. And there isn't one. So just because the statute says they can do this or that really doesn't make it law, as you know. And I've been trying to educate them. The Colorado Revised Statutes are not law. They go, oh, yes, they are. I'm like, no, they're not. It says right in the Colorado Revised Statutes. It says Colorado Revised Statutes are not law. They are merely finding guides for law. Well, it's the same thing, same difference. I said, that little vernacular of yours, the same difference, is about as retarded a statement as a human being can make. Because the word difference implies that it can't be the same, right?
Wow.
You know what I mean? No, I really don't. See, I understand the English language. I don't understand what language you happen to be speaking or going by.
So back to the liar in court. She said in 1 year that she had a couple thousand hours of videos and several hundred photos of you and
a logbook.
And your housemate and a logbook, and then says she has no knowledge of that at all when it comes down to it, to grill you over having violated the protection order. What happened next?
Well, by that time, see, I was getting sick, and I was having to go in and out of the bathroom for extended periods of time. And the judge had to actually tell the jury what was going on, because they're going, why is this guy running out of the courtroom with, you know, hobbling out of the courtroom and had gone for 20 minutes at a time. And she said, look, this guy's in hospice care, and he's on a lot of medication, so he's very ill. And after I got, I was in there for like 20 minutes, and they had to send the cops to come get me. And I come in, I guess I was white as a sheet, and the jury was pissed. I mean, you could see it on their face. They were visibly pissed. Because they're going, wait a minute, this guy's in hospice care, and you guys are prosecuting him for flipping off an old lady that's crazy, that lives up the street, 4 houses away. And then the judge pointed out, I noticed that you're being charged under the criminal statutes for violating the criminal protection order, but you don't actually have a criminal protection order. I said, no, I never have. And I pointed that out to you last year in one of my 7 pleadings that you denied without reading. Oh, I read it. I said, well, then obviously you didn't understand it. I said, because if you would understand it, you wouldn't bring it up the next year. Say, oh, gee, I just noticed. Really? I noticed it when I filed the pleading. 7 of them. And you went, denied. I said, I filed a bunch of motions, 7 motions, 48 pages of pleadings in like March 3rd. She gives me a hearing September 23rd. Motions hearing, right? That's timely.
7 or 8 months.
Yeah. And then when I walk into my hearing on the 23rd, first thing she says is, oh, all your motions are denied. I didn't even get a chance to sit down, dude. I just walked in. She goes, all your motions are denied, Mr. Riggin. And so I started looking behind me. I'm turning around, looking back, looking behind me, looking back. She goes, what are you doing? I said, I think I'm in the wrong room. She goes, no, you're not. You're in the right room. I said, no, I think I'm in the wrong room. Oh, no. I said, yeah. I said, because I said, I'm looking for a motions hearing. Oh, this is a motions hearing. I said, lady, you don't have a clue what a motions hearing is if that's what you call this little circus you got going on here. I said, let me tell you, for the record, what a motions hearing is. A motions hearing is when 2 adversarial parties file pleadings. And I said, and the one party files a pleading, the other party files a response pleading or reply pleading, and then that other party gets to respond to their reply. That's how it works. Then those two parties get up in front of a fair and impartial jurist that will listen to both sides of the argument and then rule according to the pleadings and to the arguments submitted. I said, that never happened here. So if you call this a motions hearing, then you have no clue what a motions hearing is, lady. Really. You don't call me lady, you call me Judge so-and-so. I'm sorry, I'll apologize right now. I said, that was mean to be contemptuous, but you brought me here the way I am, on fentanyl patches and morphine. So I said, I can't really control what I say. I may call you a feckless pettifogger, which is what I'm calling you now. I said, I may call you the worst jurist that ever stepped into a robe. But I said, you can't hold me liable for that, because I can be held accountable for what I say. I'm on narcotics, lady. You get me the way I come. She's like, oh God, she was pissed, man. She was really pissed. I guess at this one hearing, I had a little counter. She threatened me with contempt 22 times in one hearing. And the prosecutor never closed his mouth the whole time. His mouth was wide open. I don't think he's ever seen anybody threatened with contempt as many times as me and not go to jail. But I kept, going it's a civil or criminal contempt. Criminal. Well, great. Then you can only hold me in criminal contempt long enough to correct my contemptuous behavior. So I'm going to apologize right now, thereby purging the contempt as per the statute. Isn't that correct, ma'am? Oh, God, she was pissed. You think you're smart, don't you? Well, no offense, ma'am, but I know I'm smarter than 5 people in this room. And I looked at her and the poor prosecutors. I said, I'm excluding the officers. She was all kinds of pissed. One more word. You say one more word, you're going to jail for contempt. That's it. I said, objection? That's a word. Pretty sure.
So after the examination of the woman that said you scratched your nose with your middle finger, did it then go to the jury?
Well, then I had a former neighbor of mine, get up and testify that he owned the house across the street from me. He didn't rent it. He owned it. And he said, I sold that house and moved to get away from that old lady. He said, I had race cars, I had motorcycles, I had jet skis, I had boats. He says, every time a cover would blow off of one of my, my jet skis or my boat, she'd have the cops come in here write me a citation, code violation. Because it was never ending. Because every week I got a code violation. Because I got 48 code violations in the time I was living there. So I finally sold my house and moved. Well, that really hit the jury. Because, he wasn't a renter. That says, oh, gee, I'm just going to rent another house and move. He had to sell his house to get away from this old lady, dude. And did. Just to get away from her. And he goes, these guys can't. They're in hospice care. They can't afford to sell their house. They can't just uproot and move. And what can they do? All they can do is put up with her craziness and allow her to continue to harass them and have them charged. And the cops admitted they had 87 police reports, but they only wrote a report about every other time she called them out there.
That's something else.
Yeah, and that the jury said, hey. Oh, then they came back with a question when they went out to
deliberate.
To deliberate. They came back with one question. They said, well, since all the paperwork has Mr. Riggin's birth date as 1901, doesn't that invalidate all these charging documents? Because we're pretty sure he's not 114 years old. And the judge says, you have all the answers you need. I can't give you any more information. You're going to have to make your decision on what you have. So they said, okay. Not guilty.
Wow.
Because, they had nobody knew my birth date, so they put 1901 down there. And that wasn't it.
So after all this drama, not guilty.
I forgot. Not only did I do the removal and point out that this has been removed to the federal district court, in this case it's been removed and dismissed and you no longer have jurisdiction, she said, I don't care. I'm still going to try you. I don't care what you do. So I said, all right. So I filed a federal lawsuit against her and the other judge, Judge Vance. Because I went, when I was in Judge Vance's court, the first judge, I said, Your Honor, you were in the court when she testified that the only threat ever made to her was a threat to litigate, and that I looked at her like I was going to get her. And you were the judge. You heard all that testimony. So you know. You have superior knowledge of my innocence in this case. So your choice is either to dismiss this case or recuse yourself. And so what did he do? He recused himself and handed me to a judge that, according to all the attorneys who had taken polls, said, you don't need a prosecutor when you got Judge Woodford, because she does the work for the prosecutor. She told the prosecutor, oh, you don't have to respond to any of Mr. Riggin's pleadings. And then when he asked for a continuance, she said, denied. I'm like, wow, she's not going to give him a continuance. Well, it's because he didn't need one. She told him, you don't need one. You don't have to respond to any of his pleadings, so you don't need a continuance. So I'm going to rule in your favor. Well, that's kind of nice before the hearing. Good to know that she gave him that reassurance. So yeah, and then out of 70% of the attorneys that were polled said, yeah, we don't need a prosecutor when Judge Woodford's the judge because she does all their work for him. She's a former prosecutor. She never gave that job up. So yeah, that's who he hands me over to. So now I got a lawsuit against him, against her, against the prosecutor, and against Wheat Ridge. And now they get to, I'm saying they're joint and severably liable. That's a criminally trespass. They committed first-degree assault on an at-risk adult. They committed, first-degree official misconduct. I got a laundry list of shit. And I filed a criminal complaint against these punks, judges included, and they said, sorry, we're only going to accept that as a civil file. I said, your job is to file it. Go get a copy of your job description and your boss, and we'll go over it together. She goes, I don't care. But this is going in a civil file. That's the only place it's ever going to be. I'm like, isn't that interesting? So here I filed a criminal complaint against a bunch of public officials, and they told me only prosecutors can file a criminal complaint in the state of Colorado. Sorry. I'm like, well, then how come you got a citizen's arrest statute? Well, that doesn't mean anything. I said, well, that does mean I can go take that broad into custody and escort her to the jail, the federal jail. Well, they will place her into custody, and she will go to jail. Do you want me to do that? The clerk told me, if you do that, Mr. Riggin, they'll beat you to death. She was dead serious. She said, if you try to take a judge into custody, the sheriffs will beat you to death. And I'm like, I believe you. I don't think I'll try that.
Yeah.
I'll just do it the way I go. I'm just going about it the way I'm going about it. I'll sue them, let them answer, let them explain all that shit. Let them explain how they can take perjured testimony and continue to prosecute me, even though the case has been removed, dismissed, and filed as more judgment.
United States. Go ahead.
And even though they're defendants in a federal court, and I'm the plaintiff, they continue to be my fucking judge. How does that work? Really? I'm pretty sure you lost your appearance of fairness. She says, if I recuse myself from every case where the defendant sued me, she goes, I'd be recused myself from every case. I said, Your Honor, I honestly believe that.
No kidding. I bet you everybody's suing you.
She didn't like that. Well, that's not very funny. I said, I'm just agreeing with you. What are you getting mad at?
Really?
I said, I honestly believe you.
You fussy bitch.
So yeah, she was pretty upset when the jury came back and said not guilty.
So they'll beat you to death for using your citizen's arrest statute against a public official.
Yep. Yeah, when the clerk tells you, and then what's really funny is I said, hey, here's the problem. You guys got an affidavit of probable cause, and it doesn't even have a jurat on it. She goes, what's a jurat? I go, what's your job? Well, I'm the head court clerk for Jefferson County. I've been head court clerk for Jefferson County for 8 years. And I go, and you don't know what a jurat is? She goes, no. I said, do you realize if you admit that to a federal judge, you go to jail that day? And so she hits a button, and 4 sheriffs come in this little room, which has only got room for 5 people. And those guys are 5 people unto themselves. And I'm like squeezed in there, and I go, well, you guys are looking for somebody? He goes, the guy? She goes, he threatened me. I'm like, what? My friend outside the door said, hey, I heard him. He didn't make no threats. That's bullshit. She goes, what'd you say? I said, I told her if she admitted that she doesn't know what a jurat is and that she's been the head court clerk here for 8 years, that she'll go to jail if she admits that to a federal judge. Just get out of here right now. I said, you. She said, what? I said, you get out of here. I said, I'm the fucking public asshole. You're a public servant. You don't like what I say? Step off. He was shocked. He was just like, nobody's talking to me that way. I said, it's about fucking time, don't you think? I said, I'm here to get answers. If you don't want to provide them, step off. You can leave. You and your friends can all leave. He just stood there blinking his eyes. He goes, I guess you guys can go. I'll stay here. And so the three of them left. And he stood there. And I laid it out on him. I said, dude, you realize you have no immunity? I can literally arrest you for threatening me. Because I'm an at-risk adult. And I said, I just came here for answers. And her admission that she doesn't know what a jurat is, I said, there's not a notary in the state that doesn't know what a jurat is. And if she's not smart enough to be a notary, she's definitely not smart enough to be the head court clerk of this county. And I said, here's the thing, man. Every jurat, every affidavit of probable cause you guys issued out of this court isn't worth the paper it's printed on, and I can literally vacate every felony charge you've ever charged anybody with in federal court. I said, wouldn't you like that? If I set a case precedent that walked every felon that's walked through this court out, I bet you guys wouldn't like me anymore, would you? He said, you can't do that. I said, I've been told I can't do a lot of shit that I've done. So you might want to look me up, boy. I said, you don't know me. You don't know what I've done, where I've been, who I've put in prison in the past. I said, I've put more people in uniform in prison than you have civilians. And he got kind of shook up. He said, I'm leaving. I'm not sticking around here. I was like, dude, you scared him away. I'm not scared of you. I said, no, you're not here, but in a deposition, I bet you'll sweat like a little girl. I said, I bet you sweat like a pig if I get you in a deposition and I start asking you questions you don't want to answer or can't answer without admitting guilt. I said, hey, trust me, there's all kinds of questions I can ask you guys, every one of you. And I said, by the time I'm done, the jails will be full. And I won't be one of them. He's like, well, we don't take threats from people like you. And nobody takes threats very well. It's funny how that works. I said, yeah, nobody does. But I said, this isn't a threat, dude. It's a fact. You know, everybody else you guys have dealt with have fucking rolled over because they don't know the law, or they're too chick and shit, or they can't find an attorney who's got enough balls to go up against their own bar. I don't need I said, I don't need an attorney, dude. So, all it takes is one of me, and you guys are done. I said, you guys get to play your game without any federal funds and see how fun it is for you when you don't have any overtime. You don't have any toys to play with. You lose your helicopter, your plane, your mobile crime scene unit, 1/3 of your cars, and you're all 1/3 of you riding bicycles around downtown.
Yeah, they'll be fighting for hours working the metal detector at the courthouse.
Exactly. I said, ask the guys down in Colorado Springs what happened to their federal funding. Oh shit. So yeah, you know, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so you proved all that to him when your case got dismissed.
Yep. And so now I'm going forward to now I'm amending the complaint, because originally I just wrote the complaint to get her off my case. And I just said, hey, I want a fair trial, blah, blah, blah. So now I'm amending the complaint saying, no, I want to be made whole. These people pissed all over my rights. They violated their own statutes, their own court rules, and their own constitution. And I don't see any difference between them and the felons they're putting in their jails.
No, you got proof that there is no difference.
Exactly.
They could accidentally violate 18 U.S.C. 241, conspiracy against rights. And for the whole time they were prosecuting you, that's where they were living.
Exactly.
Federal felony.
Yep, 18-241.
241, conspiracy against rights.
Right. Yeah, I think I got that on there. If I don't, I'll know I had it. But yeah, it's like, where would we be without our public servants? Well, we definitely wouldn't be in jail. More likely.
It's hard to fathom, really.
It is. And so, hell, I can't. I actually went and hunted around, tried to find an attorney to go after. Hey, gee, can I find somebody that'll help me sue the state for wrongfully prosecuting me? Now, not just once, but twice, and both were over a 2-year period. So, once I filed a complaint on, for harassing a dying man, and then the other one, I just happened to be walking down the street, scratching my nose the wrong way. So, yeah.
And the collateral baggage for the time that order was in place, you were barred from purchasing firearms?
Yeah, still am, according to them. They're still saying, oh, gee, sorry, this protection order is still in place. I'm like, how can a protection order that's been removed to federal district court and dismissed still be in place? Oh, sorry. That's just the way it is. I'm like, well, okay. Y'all just get on that bandwagon together because y'all go down together, too. You think you guys can just do shit the way you do it because it's been working this way so long for you, you're going to realize it. It don't always work. It works against people who don't know any better. And that's exactly what it works against. Those of us who do know better, it really doesn't work. It doesn't work at all.
Look at where ignorance of the law has gotten the people of Colorado. Not that it's a higher level of intensity in Colorado, but it's a pattern across America that there's an entire fabric of enforcement that you can carve out and attribute strictly to the ignorance of the people of the particular jurisdiction. It's not like misenforcement or abuse of authority. It's more like a pattern of exploitation of people that just don't know any better. And that's the only crime.
Yep. Yeah, and in their job, ignorance of the law ain't much of an excuse. Because they're supposed to be enforcing it.
Yeah, their ignorance of the law is overtime and the company car.
Yep. Exactly.
Well, hey, Kurt, as we wrap this up, what would you like to impart to the people of Colorado now that your experience is at a close there with your case having been dismissed and all of this, not that the abuse is at an end, but a certain respite is now in place. What would you like to tell people about their relationship with their government, municipal and state, there in Colorado?
Well, you got to start talking to your public servants about forcing them to give back your rights to file a citizen's criminal complaint, because the way they got it now, if you're a citizen and you file a criminal complaint, they don't give a shit. They don't have to pay any attention to it, and they can prosecute you for filing it. That's got to change, because until the people of Colorado make it safe for the citizens of Colorado to file a complaint against their public servants without fear of reprisals or fears of threats of arrest and being beaten to death or thrown in jail, you don't have a free state. It doesn't exist. You're living in a corporate state that is running ripshod over you like slaves. And until you wake up and kick their sorry asses off the bench and start going, gee, unless we elect these guys, they're not going to be judges. You've got to get rid of all these appointed judges. You don't have one elected judge in the state. And the state constitution that created the state of Colorado says that all judges have to be elected. It says that all officials have to be elected. They have to have their bonds. They have to have their oaths of office upon it before they go into office. And that doesn't happen. The governor, who's been claiming to be governor for the last, 2 terms, this is his second term now, Governor Hickenlooper. Well, I got a letter from the Secretary of State saying there is no bond on file for Governor Hickenlooper. Never has been. That means he's committing fraud, forgery, perjury, impersonating a public official, impersonating an officer under the code of law, malfeasance, misfeasance, non-feasance of office, criminal profiteering, racketeering, organized crime, and money laundering, and official misconduct too. And every law he signed into law isn't worth the paper it's printed on because he's never been governor.
Yeah, he's de facto.
He's de facto, de jure. And so, all these bullshit new gun laws they got saying you can't have more than a 15-round magazine, and, you know, and all this other crap. You got to do mandatory background checks. Well, those ain't worth the paper they're printed on. You might as well use them for charming. Of course, they might cause a rash if you wipe your ass with it, but that's all.
Have you done anything to look at that decision that came out just the other day out of a U.S. Circuit Court saying that the assault weapons ban went a little bit too far in relation to the Second Amendment guarantees to protect oneself?
Oh, no, I haven't heard of that one.
Okay, I'll let you look that up. I won't bother you about it, but it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, send it. I'll check it out.
Yeah,
sure.
there's a couple of, there were three particular aspects of the suit, and two of them the circuit court said, well, those are okay, but this one, the fundamental reason for the Second Amendment is to protect oneself. We feel that the district court used the wrong standard for scrutiny when that law was challenged. But anyway, I want to share with everybody right here that listens to this recording. I got my attitude and my confidence in the law from Mr. Kurt Riggin in Colorado. And if I hadn't met him when I did, which was just when I became disillusioned with federal tax law, which was all paper litigation. It was through the mail, tax court and appellate court. And before I had petitioned the Supreme Court in 97 and 98 in tax law. So just tax court and federal appellate court on tax issues. It was all paper briefing. So I didn't have my feet on the ground regarding municipal or state law, certainly criminal procedure, none of that. And the day I was introduced to Kurt, he immediately turned me off of the movement regarding state and municipal practice of law, and told me these
don't follow the herd. I said, don't follow that herd because they go right over the cliff.
That's right. These are the court rules. This is the state constitution. This is the motor vehicle code, and these are your only tools. And seeing what he was able to do to get criminal cases dismissed and traffic tickets dismissed, I was convinced that I was looking at the real deal, and never looked away from learning enough about the law to have confidence in it. And when you have confidence in it, don't be afraid to speak up. Throw it right at them and stand on your rights. And when they won't honor the law, file criminal complaints. It's what to do.
And don't forget your civil and your administrative complaints. Exhaust your administrative remedies. And, yeah, hammer them. Because they're your servants. They may think that they can run roughshod over you, but it's not how it works. The law is actually written to protect you. And their misinterpretation of the law doesn't constitute a violation of law on your part. And that's usually the case. I mean, these guys are dumb as rocks. They don't even read their own statutes. You know, it's like, we're charging you with contempt. Really? Read the contempt charges. If I apologize, my contempt charge is done. Because you can only hold me long enough to correct my contemptuous behavior unless you serve me with a written court order that I'm in direct violation of. And then it's got to be duly served, and it's got to be something I can actually follow. You know?
Boy, you're picky.
Yeah, I know. I'm picky that way. All right, brother.
Hey, Kurt.
Well, I'll let you go. I got to go pick up a chair.
It's been my pleasure, and thanks for everything over the years, and glad I caught you with the opportunity to get an interview out of the way. Take care. Let's talk again soon.
Cool. All right. Take care.
Thanks, man.
Bye-bye.